Somebody can please lead the invocation prayers.
I can do, Prabhu.
Sure.
Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjalashalakaya Chakshurulmitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swam Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadhavetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dino Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarabhyuscha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivecha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you all for coming. So today we will start unit number 18. We'll cover Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 20. We'll cover at least verses 1 to 16. So the 7 chapters on Prithu Maharaj in unit number 17, they were straightforward chapters. And unit number 18 has 4 chapters, but these 4 chapters are heavy with lot of instructions and lot of practical applications. So the context is that Prithu Maharaj agreed to Brahmaji's advice not to proceed with the 100th Ashwamedh Yajna, because by blessings of Brahmaji, Prithu Maharaj will be more famous with 99 Ashwamedh Yajna. And Prithu Maharaj's Yajna is anyway better because Vishnu together with Brahmaji, Shiva and other great personalities appeared at Prithu Maharaj's Yajna. Brahmaji says that the purpose of your incarnation, Prithu Maharaj, is to protect religious principles. So in that, Indra disrupted the sacrifice and dharma. And if you try to oppose Indra, Indra will continue to misuse his power and introduce even more irreligious systems. So now in this chapter, Lord Vishnu will instruct Prithu Maharaj, and Lord Vishnu is also very affectionate to Prithu Maharaj. And he will ask Prithu Maharaj to ask for a benediction. So the benediction Prithu Maharaj asks from the Lord is that please give me 1,000,000 years to hear your glories from the heart of your pure devotees. I mean, everybody has 2 years and he is asking 1,000,000 years to hear so much the glories of the Lord. You will recall the slide that I have shared from the start of Canto 4, and the one highlighted in yellow is the middle part, is unit 17 and 18 on Prithu Maharaj. So we completed unit 17 and unit 18 on Prithu Maharaj will continue discussing more specifics about Prithu Maharaj. So Canto 4, Unit 18 is titled Prithu Maharaj Part 2 and covers chapters 20 to 23. So chapter 20 is titled Lord Vishnu's appearance in the sacrificial arena of Maharaj Prithu. It is divided into 4 parts. Part 1, verses 1 to 16. Lord Vishnu instructs Prithu Maharaj. Part 2, verses 17 to 22. Lord's affectionate dealings with Prithu Maharaj. Part 3, verses 23 to 31. Prayers of Prithu Maharaj. Part 4, verses 32 to 38. Lord leaves after offering his benediction. Shalini had a question.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Sorry Prabhu, I just wanted to take a screenshot. If you can just put the slide, if possible.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Abhishek Prabhu.
Sorry, Prabhuji, it was a mistakenly unmuted.
Shivangi.
Prabhuji, is it Pitru Maharaja Part 2? Is that the title of the unit?
Correct.
Thank you.
All right. So Lord Vishnu appeared with Indra, and first instruction is to forgive Indra, stating that an intelligent devotee does not take action against the soul or the body. If there is any discrepancy, the devotee forgives. So forgiveness is a quality of those who are advancing in spiritual knowledge. So Lord is advising Prithu Maharaj to forgive Indra on the understanding that soul and body are different. Is our dear Aditi able to read verse 1 and 2, translation and purports, chapter 20?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Translation. The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, being very much satisfied by the performance of 99 horse sacrifices, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, appeared on the scene. Accompanying him was King Indra. Lord Vishnu then began to speak. Text 2 translation. Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, said, My dear King Prithu, Indra, the King of Heaven, has disturbed your execution of 100 sacrifices. Now he has come with me to be forgiven by you. Therefore, excuse. Purport. In this verse, the word Atmanam is very significant. It is a custom among yogis and jnanis to address one another or even an ordinary man as oneself, for a transcendentalist never accepts a living being to be the body. Since the individual self is part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the self and the super self are qualitatively non-different. As the next verse will explain, the body is only a superficial covering, and consequently an advanced transcendentalist will not make a distinction between oneself and another.
Right, so Lord says an advanced transcendentalist does not distinguish between the body and the soul. He just focuses on the soul. Because body is just a superficial covering. And next, the Lord explains that devotee has no malicious intent towards others. And if you get carried away by Maya, then instead of advancing, you wasted your time. So verses 3 to 12 describe how the jnana of body, of soul, and of super soul leads to bhakti. Shivangi, verse 3 and 4, translation plus purports.
Hare Krishna text 3 translation. O King, one who is advanced in intelligence and eager to perform welfare activities for others is considered best among human beings. An advanced human being is never malicious to others. Those with advanced intelligence are always conscious that this material body is different from the soul. Purpose. In daily life, we find that when a madman commits murder, he is excused even by a high court judge. The idea is that a living entity is always pure because he is part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When he falls into the clutches of material energy, he becomes the victim of the three modes of material nature. Indeed, whatever he does under the influence of material nature. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 5.14, न कर्तव्यम न कर्माणि लोकस्य सृजति प्रभु न कर्मफल संयोगम स्वभावस्तु प्रवर्तते. The embodied spirit, master of the city of his body, does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruits of action. All this is enacted by the modes of material nature. Actually, the living entity or soul does not do anything. Everything is done under the influence of the modes of material nature. When a man is diseased, the symptoms of the disease become a source of all kinds of pain. Those who are advanced in transcendental consciousness or Krishna consciousness are never envious neither of the soul nor of the activities of the soul under the influence of material nature. Advanced transcendentalists are called Sudhiyaha. Sudhi means intelligence, Sudhi means highly advanced, and Sudhi means devotee. One who is both devoted and highly advanced in intelligence does not take action against the soul or the body. If there is any discrepancy, he forgives. It is said that forgiveness is the quality of those who are advancing in spiritual knowledge. Text 4. If a personality like you, who are so much advanced because of executing the instructions of the previous acharyas, is carried away by the influence of my material energy, then all your advancement may be considered simply a waste of time. Purport. In this verse, the word Vriddha Sevaya is very significant. Vriddha means old, Sevaya means by service. Perfect knowledge is acquired from the acharyas or the liberated souls. No one can be perfect in knowledge without being trained by the parampara system. Prithu Maharaja was completely trained in that line. Therefore, he did not deserve to be considered an ordinary man. An ordinary man who has only a conception of bodily existence is always bewildered by the modes of material nature. Hare Krishna.
So we read in the purport that an advanced devotee is never malicious to others and is always conscious that this material body is different from the soul. Devotees are never envious of the soul, nor of the activities of the soul under the influence of material nature. Devotee does not take action against the soul nor against the body. And if there is any discrepancy by somebody else, he forgives. Forgiveness is a quality of those who are advancing in spiritual knowledge. So I've described this many times that if somebody is acting under Mahamaya and we also act similarly, then what's the difference between the other person who has not read scriptures and we all having read scriptures? And therefore, Krishna says that if you don't forgive, then your endeavor is simply waste of time. Questions, comments, realizations so far?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Can I ask a question?
Mhm.
So, Prabhu, Prithu Maharaj himself is an incarnation of the Supreme Lord. So, Lord Vishnu advising him, this is like many of the, Lord's pastimes, which we should not, we don't understand clearly, Prabhu. Is it that? Because Prithu Maharaj, if he's doing whatever, getting annoyed with Indra and all this, I'm just thinking about that, Prabhu.
So we have discussed that Krishna uses himself and his pure devotees to teach to rest of the world. If you step back in Canto 1, Chapter 5, where Srila Vyasadeva, who is also an incarnation of the Lord, and Srila Narad Muni is chastising Srila Vyasadeva so badly with the word Jukupsitam in 1.5.15 that this is verily condemned. And if you recall the visual that I had shown in while we were discussing 1.5, Canto 1, Chapter 5, that Shri Narad Muni is holding up his finger and look at, I have the visual on the screen as well. Look at the face of Srila Vyasadeva. So he's chastising him so badly. Now, Srila Vyasadeva is Krishna himself. So he is using himself to teach the rest of the world so many lessons. In this Canto 1, Chapter 5, there were so many lessons, practical applications that we learn. Similarly, Krishna uses his pure devotees such as Pandavas, Draupadi, Bhishmadev to teach to rest of the world. And that's exactly what Krishna is doing with the Prithu Maharaj incarnation, also to teach the rest of the world what we should be doing and what we should not be doing. So in this chapter, the verses we'll cover today, will come up the duties of a king. That what are the duties of a king? Now we'll soon realize that today's leaders, they don't have all these qualities and they don't follow. So how do you get the ideal scenario? From the Lord himself. So Prithu Maharaj, being an incarnation of the Lord, is showing the ideal scenario of how a leader should be. Shalini, does that help you?
Yes, Prabhu, very much. Thank you, Prabhu.
All right. Now, verses. Abhishek Prabhu has a question.
Probably I was just thinking that this whole incident of Indra and Prithu, like generally it is very clear that mistake is of Indra, but correction is coming, like instead of correcting him, Prithu Maharaj is being asked to not,
Yeah.
like it is kind of a.
Very good. No, very good. This is very, very good inquiry. That you will notice that in temples, they don't follow this instruction properly. So here, what has happened? This is really spectacular inquiry from Abhishek Prabhu. That the process is two ways. That you forgive because forgiveness is a quality for you to develop, and simultaneously Indra is repenting. Oh, I am actually sorry. Right? And by repenting, he is actually realizing his mistake and he will rectify himself also. what happens in ISKCON or in general, that people just say, oh, Prabhu, you just forgive because you have to develop the quality of forgiveness. And they don't even worry about correcting somebody who is wrong because they themselves are very weak. So here, what has actually happened is Indra has realized his mistake. Therefore, he has gone to the Lord saying, Lord, help me here. And he comes with the Lord and says, actually, I'm sorry, but he's, instead of Indra speaking the words, he has already asked Lord for forgiveness, and the Lord is saying that, okay, he's sorry, that you forgive, that forgiveness is a quality for you to develop. So it's a very important inquiry that Abhishek Prabhu asked because he is hearing with rapt attention and processing what we are discussing. Abhishek Prabhu, does that help you?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you so much.
Right. So, I mean, the instructions in the scriptures, so the devotees who sit in management position should also follow. What they generally do is they take the easier path and they just say, oh, Prabhu, you forgive. Let it go. Yeah, I can forgive. That's proper for me to forgive. But you have to take responsibility for yourself also, that you are in management position. So you should be strong enough to correct the other person who is wrong also. But they just take the easier path and they just let it go. So we have to follow properly what we learn. At least we try to. Everybody on the same page?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Very good. So verses 5 and 6 are on detachment. Gopal Prabhu, 5 and 6 translation.
Hare Krishna. Text 5 translation. Those who are in full knowledge of the bodily conception of life, who know that this body is composed of nescience, desires, and activities resulting from illusion, do not become addicted to the body. Text 6 translation. How can a highly learned person who has absolutely no affinity for the bodily conception of life be affected by the bodily conception in regard to house, children, wealth, and other bodily productions? Hare Krishna.
So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains the terms Trai Guna Vishaya Veda and Nishtrai Gunaya. So Trai Guna means pertaining to the three modes, the Vishaya means the subject matter, and Veda is Vedic literature, meaning the Vedas talk of the subject matter of the three modes of material nature, which is described in Bhagavad Gita 2.45. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 2.45 that, O Arjuna, become transcendental to these three modes, become free from dualities and from all anxieties, and gain and anxieties for gain, and be established in self. And the word Nishtray Guna means transcendental to the three modes of material nature. That those who are in full knowledge of bodily concept of life, who know that this body is composed of nescience, desires and activities resulting from illusion, they do not become addicted to the body. So, I mean, my statement started by saying those in bodily concept of life. What actually says those who have full knowledge of bodily concept of life. They know that the body is composed of nescience and desires, and therefore they are not addicted to the body. In bodily concept of life, I think that sense gratification will help me because I am in illusion. And another kind of illusion is to think that someone will become happy by trying to satisfy the desires that arise from illusory body, as well as I will become happy by attaining elevation to higher planets such as heaven, or I will become happy by performing the rituals described in Vedas. All these are illusions. Similarly, material activities performed for social and humanitarian activities with the idea to help people, they are also illusion. So all these are activities under the three modes. Therefore, Prabhupada explains the terms Trai Guna Vishaya Veda and Nishtay Guna. Questions, comments, realizations? In verses 7 and 8, provide the knowledge of the soul and super soul with a comparison. And the result is that one is unaffected by the modes, although he may be situated in this body. Shalini, verse 7 and 8 translations.
Hare Krishna. Text 7, translation. The individual soul is one, pure, non-material, and self-effulgent. He is the reservoir of all good qualities, and he is all-pervading. He is without material covering, and he is the witness of all activities. He is completely distinguished from other living entities, and he is transcendental to all embodied souls. Text 8, translation. Although within the material nature, one who is thus situated in full knowledge of the Paramatma and Atma is never affected by the modes of material nature, for he is always situated in my transcendental loving service. Hare Krishna.
So comparison between super soul and conditioned soul is given. You can make a table, two column table. So super soul is one. Conditioned souls are unlimited. Super soul is pure. Conditioned soul is impure. Super soul is self-effulgent. Conditions are not self-effulgent. Super soul is without material qualities. Conditioned souls are with material modes. Super soul is reservoir of all good qualities. Conditioned soul is encaged in material qualities. Super soul is able to go everywhere. Conditioned soul is not able to go everywhere. Super soul is not covered by matter. Conditioned soul is covered by matter. Super soul witnesses all activities. Conditioned soul does not witness all activities. Super soul is independent, while conditioned soul is dependent on the super soul. And the super soul is transcendental. So, having realized this knowledge of the soul and super soul, one practices Bhakti Mishra Gyan. So, Bhakti Mishra Gyan means where Bhakti is less and Jnana is more. So I described earlier that all this knowledge will lead to bhakti. Yes, somebody may start as Bhakti Mishra Gyan, where Jnana is more, but he'll eventually come to devotional service. So verse number 9, we'll read a lot of purports from this point on. Verse number 9 explains devotee serves the Lord by his swadharma. Now, swadharma for a grahastha is karma yoga. So therefore, this verse number 9 describes the process of karma yoga. This verse number 9 plus verse number 15, upcoming verse number 15, describes that devotional service is very simple. So part of the verse we'll discuss here about karma yoga. And when we reach verse 15, we'll discuss about devotional service at that point. So let's first read verse 9, translation and purport. Chandran Prabhu. So understand this is very important, the explaining the process of karma yoga.
Hare Krishna. Text 9. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, continued. My dear King Prithu, when one situated in his occupational duty engages in my loving service without motive for material gain, he gradually becomes very satisfied with him. Purport. This verse is also confirmed by the Vishnu Purana. Occupational duties are known as Varnasrama Dharma and apply to the 4 divisions of material and spiritual life, namely Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaisya, and Sudra, and Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa. If one works according to the Varnasrama Dharma system and does not desire fruitive results, he gets satisfaction gradually. Discharging one's occupational duty as a means of rendering devotional service and to the Supreme Person of Godhead is the ultimate goal of life. Bhagavad Gita confirms this as the process of Karma Yoga. In other words, we should act only for the satisfaction and service of the Lord. Otherwise, we will be entangled by the result actions. Everyone is situated in his occupational duty, but the purpose of material occupation should not be material gain. Rather, everyone should offer the results of his occupational activities. A Brahmana especially should execute his occupational duties not for material gain, but to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Kshatriya, Vaisya, and Sudra should work in a similar way. In this material world, everyone is engaged in various professional and occupational duties. But the purpose of such activities should be to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Devotion service is very simple and anyone can adopt it. Let one remind what he is. He need only install the deity of the Supreme Lord in his house. The deity may be Radha Krishna or Lakshmi Narayana. There are many other forms of the Lord. In this way, a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaisya, or Sudra can worship the deity with the results of his honest labor. Regardless of one's occupational duty, one should adopt the devotional means of hearing, chanting, remembering, worshipping, offering everything to the Lord and engaging in his service. In this way, one can very easily engage himself in the service of the Lord. When the Lord is pleased with one's service, one's mission in life is fulfilled. Hare Krishna.
So the process of karma yoga is described that occupational duties are known as varnashram dharma. So very important to understand that varnashram dharma, what exactly you are supposed to do. Many people just get married and they think that they are doing varnashram dharma. They're using this as an excuse for sense gratification. Rather, what the verse explains is that if one works according to varnashram system and does not desire fruitive results, he gets satisfaction gradually. So by discharging his occupational duties as a means of devotional service, that is the ultimate goal. This is the process of karma yoga. That yes, varnashram, say you are dharmically married, but you have to add bhakti process so as to lose the lower taste of material enjoyment. So do everything, do your occupational duty as devotional service, dovetail everything. And Prabhupada says we should act only for the satisfaction of service of Lord. Otherwise, we'll be entangled. The purpose of material occupation is not material gain. Rather, offer the results of occupational activities to the Lord. And this is where devotional service is very simple. This further describes in verse 15 also upcoming. And towards the end, Prabhupada makes a very important point that regardless of one's occupational duty, one should adopt the devotional means of hearing, chanting, remembering, worshipping, offering everything to the Lord, and engaging in his service. This way, one can very easily engage himself in service of the Lord. Questions, comments, realizations? And the result of practicing Swadharma is described in verses 10 and 11. Abhishek Prabhu, verse 10 and 11 translation.
Verse 10, translation. When the heart is cleansed of all material contamination, the devotee's mind becomes broader and transparent, and he can see things equally. At that stage of life, there is peace, and one is situated equally with me as Satchidananda Vigraha. Text 11. Anyone who knows that this material body made of the five gross elements, the sense organs, the working senses, and the mind, is simply supervised by the fixed soul, is eligible to be liberated from material bondage.
So that the heart is cleansed and one attains peace. So one who understands soul is the superintendent of body and senses, he is eligible for liberation. Now, immediately the question happens that how can Jiva be free from birth and death simply by being indifferent to body and senses while supervising the body and senses? And the answer is described in verse number 12 is that the devotee is equipoised to material changes. Abhishek Prabhu, verse 12 translation, continue.
Text 4. Lord Vishnu told King Prithu, My dear king, the constant change of this material world is due to the interaction of the three modes of material nature. The five elements, the senses, the demigods who control the senses, as well as the mind, which is agitated by the spirit soul. All these taken together comprise the body. Since the spirit soul is completely different from this combination of gross and subtle material elements, my devotee who is connected with me in intense friendship and affection, being completely in knowledge, is never agitated by material happiness and distress.
Right. So by practicing their respective swadharma, the jnanis who strive to be free from material entanglement, the jnanis become free from samsara by following the bhakti mishra jnana, where jnana is more than bhakti. While devotees, they develop detachment from material world, and even without striving to be free from material entanglement, devotees still attain the same result of being free from material entanglement by the practice of bhakti. Plus, of course, devotee also attain loving devotional service to the Lord. Plus, bhakti process is easier as compared to the Gyan path. So the question that how can soul be free just by understanding that the body and senses are different and he's just supervising the body and senses. In verse number 12, purport, Prabhupada explains this with an analogy that one who is driving a car, he knows everything about the car. Still, he is different from the car. And the person, this way, the person can also stay absorbed in loving devotional service while doing his material duties. Abhishek Prabhu, verse 12, purport.
Purpose. The question may be raised that if the living entity has to act as the superintendent of the activities of bodily combination, then how can he be independent to the activities of the body? The answer is given here. These activities are completely different from the activities of the spirit soul of the living entity. A crude example can be given in this connection. A businessman riding in a motor car sits in the car, supervises its running, and advises the driver. He knows how much gasoline is used up, and he knows everything about the car, but still he is apart from the car and is more concerned with his business. Even while riding in the car, he thinks of his business and his office. He has no connection with the car, although he is sitting there. As the businessman is always absorbed in thoughts of his business, so the living entity can be absorbed in thoughts of rendering loving service to the Lord. Then it will be possible to remain separate from the activities of the material body. This position of neutrality can be possible only for a devotee. The word baddha, suhridha, bound in friendship, is particularly used here. Karmis, Jnanis, and yogis cannot be bound in devotional service. Karmis fully engage in activities of the body. Their aim of life is to give comfort to the body only. Jnanis try to get out of the entanglement by philosophical speculation, but they have no standing in the liberated position. Because they do not take shelter under the lotus feet of the Lord, they fall down from the exalted position of Brahman realization. Yogis also have a bodily concept of life. They think that they can achieve something spiritual by exercising the body through dharana, asana, pranayam, etc. A devotee's position is always transcendental because of his intimate relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, to remain always aloof from the actions and reactions of the body and engage in one's real occupation, namely rendering service to the Lord, can be possible only for devotees.
So the analogy explained, the analogy read that a businessman riding a car sits in the car, supervises its running, and advises the driver. He knows how much gasoline is used, knows everything about the car, but he is still apart from the car and is more concerned with his business. So even while riding in a car, he thinks of his business and his office. He has no connection with the car, although he's sitting in the car. So as the businessman is always absorbed in thoughts of his business, similarly, the living entity can be absorbed in the thoughts of rendering loving devotional service to the Lord while he is in the body and while he is doing his occupational duties. And Prabhupada explains that the constant change of this material world is due to interaction of the three modes. The soul is completely different from the combination of material body. Krishna says, my devotee, being completely in knowledge, is never agitated by the material happiness and distress. And this is where we understand that the question that I asked, that if living entity has to act as superintendent of the activities of body, then how can he be indifferent to the activities? And the answer with this analogy is given that these activities of the body are completely different from the activities of the soul. Everybody on the same page? Questions, comments, realizations?
I was just thinking, Prabhuji, that while sitting in the car and supervising it activity, it is more difficult to feel aloof from the activity. Is it not?
So it's a matter of practice. Realize that, say, you are sitting in a car as a passenger, like the businessman in the analogies described. The businessman will instruct the driver. He will know where the car is going. He will know about the car. But he is more focused on his business. Or similarly, if you are driving the car, yeah, you are driving, but what exactly are you thinking in your mind? Generally, most people have the default thought process of how do I earn money? How do I engage in sense gratification? Prabhupada is explaining that it is possible that to continue to stay absorbed in devotional service while you are doing occupational duties, just as Prabhupada gives this example of riding the car, that you are doing one activity while your mind is focused on your business. Similarly, you can practice to have your mind focused on devotional service. Abhishek Prabhu.
But we also have to focus on the occupational duty because we are doing it.
Yeah, you are correct. So we have discussed this. Abhishek Prabhu, you should have completed this discussion in Bhagavad Gita 18.46, that how do you make your work as worship? Is that first in the morning you establish a connection with the Lord by diligent sadhana. Then Krishna will at least be there in the background. Should be there in the front ground, that's better, but at least he'll be there in the background. And by establishing connection with the morning diligent sadhana, then whatever you do also becomes devotional. Abhishek Prabhu.
Thank you for recollecting that discussion.
Everybody on the same page?
Yes,
Prabhu.
Prabhu.
Okay, very good. So in verses 13 to 16, Lord instructs Prithu Maharaj. So there are 4 instructions in verse number 13. Kalyani, able to read verse number 13 translation? Kalyani? Sridhar Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Text 12.
13 translation.
13 translation. My dear heroic king, please keep yourself always equipoised and treat people equally, whether they are greater than you in the intermediate stage or lower than you. Do not be disturbed by temporary distress or happiness. Fully control your mind and senses. In this transcendental position, try to execute your duty as a king in whatever condition of life you may be posted by my arrangement. For your only duty here is to give protection to the citizens of your kingdom. Hare Krishna.
So the 4 instructions in this verse number 13 is, first is, treat higher, intermediate, and lower entities with equality. So we have discussed this earlier also, that treat everyone with respect. You cannot respect, at least do not disrespect. The second instruction, be equipoised in happiness and distress. Third is control your mind and senses. And fourth is protect your citizens. So verse number 14 describes the real duty of a king and why king should protect the citizens. That if the king protects the citizens, the king gets 1/6 of the piety of the citizens. Or if the king does not protect the citizens will take king's piety and the king suffers the sins of the citizens. Sridhar Prabhu or Kalyani, you can read 14 translation and purport.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Text 14, translation. To give protection to the general mass of people who are citizens of the state is a prescribed occupational duty for a king. By acting in that way, the king in his next life shares 1/6 of the result of the pious activities of the citizens. But a king or executive head of a state simply collects taxes from the citizens but does not give them proper protection as human beings, has the results of his own pious activities taken away by the citizens. And in exchange for his not giving protection, he becomes liable to punishment for the impious activities of his subjects. Purport. The question may be raised here that if everyone engaged in spiritual activities to attain salvation and became indifferent to the activities of the material world, then how could things as they are go on? And if things are to go on as they ought to, how can a head of state be indifferent to such activities? In answer to this question, the word Shreyaha, auspicious, is used here. The division of activities in society are as arranged by the Supreme Personality of Godhead was not blindly or accidentally created, as foolish people say. The Brahmana must do his duty properly, and the Kshatriya, the Vaishya, and even the Shudra must do the same, and every one of them can achieve the highest perfection of life. Liberation from this material bondage. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 18.45. Sve sve karmanya abhiratha samsiddhim labate naraha. By executing one's prescribed duties, one can attain the highest perfection. Lord Vishnu advised Maharaj Prithu that a king is not enjoined to give up his kingdom and the responsibility of protecting the prajas or citizens, to instead go away to the Himalayas for liberation. He can attain liberation while executing his royal duties. The royal duty or the duty of the head of state is to see that the prajas or the general mass of people are doing their respective duties for spiritual salvation. The secular state does not necessitate a king or head of state who is indifferent to the activities of the prajas. In the modern state, the government has many rules and regulations for conducting the duties of the prajas, but the government neglects to see that the citizens advance in spiritual knowledge. If the government is careless in this matter, the citizens will act whimsically without any sense of God realization of spiritual life and thus become entangled in sinful activities. An executive head should not be callous to the welfare of the general mass of people while he simply goes on collecting taxes. The king's real duty is to see that the citizens gradually become fully Krishna conscious. Krishna conscious means completely free from all sinful activities. As soon as there is complete eradication of sinful activities in the state, then there will be no more war, pestilence, famine, or natural disturbances. This was actually prevailing during the reign of Maharaj Yudhishthira. If a king or head of the government is able to induce the citizens to become Krishna conscious, then he is worthy to rule over the mass of people. Otherwise, he has no right to levy taxes. If the king looks after the spiritual interests of the citizens, he can levy taxes without difficulties. In this way, both the subjects and the king will be happy during this life and in the next life. the king will be able to share 1/6 of the pious activities of the citizens. Otherwise, by levying taxes on sinful citizens, he will have to share the reactions of their sinful activities. The same principle can be applied to parents and spiritual masters as well. If parents simply give birth to children like cats and dogs but cannot save their children from imminent death, they become responsible for the activities of their animalistic children. Lately, such children are turning into hippies. Similarly, if a spiritual master cannot direct his disciples to become free of sinful activities, he becomes responsible for their sinful acts. These subtle laws of nature are unknown to the present leaders of society. Since the leaders of society have a poor fund of knowledge and the citizens in general are rogues and thieves, there cannot be an auspicious situation for human society. At the present moment, the whole world is full of such an incompatible combination of state and citizens, and therefore there is constant tension, war, and anxiety as an inevitable result of such social conditions. Hare Krishna.
Questions, comments, realizations?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Krishna.
While we were going through all this, it is exactly showing the situation in this Kali Yuga with the current leaders and the citizens and war and famine and droughts and nobody offering yagyas to Supreme Lord Prabhu.
Yeah, you are correct. Correct realization. So Bhagavatam is written, or Bhagavatam existed from before, written down thousands of years ago to predict what future will be, and you can see exactly what Bhagavatam has described. Well, very good. So verse number 9 briefly described and is further described in verse number 15 that devotional service is very simple. So how the whole conversation is about one who knows the body, the soul, and the super soul, he will come to devotional service. Yeah, somebody may start the Jnana path, but he will soon come to devotional service because devotional service is easy. Gopal Prabhu, 15 translation plus purport, faster pace, please.
Hare Krishna, text 15 translation. Lord Vishnu continued, My dear King Prithu, if you continue to protect the citizens according to the instructions of the learned Brahmanas authorities, as they are received by the disciplic succession, by hearing from master to disciple, if you follow the religious principles laid down by them without attachment to ideas manufactured by mental concoction, then every one of your citizens will be happy and will love you, and very soon will be able to see such already liberated personalities as the four Kumaras, Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanandana, and Sanat Kumara. Purport. The Lord Vishnu advised King Prithu that everyone should follow the principles of Varnashrama Dharma. Then in whatever capacity one remains within this material world, his salvation is guaranteed after death. In this age, however, since the system of Varnashrama Dharma is topsy-turvy, it is very difficult to strictly follow the principles. The only method of becoming perfect in life is to develop Krishna consciousness. As Varnashrama Dharma is executed from different positions by different men, so the Krishna consciousness principles can be followed by everyone in every part of the world. There is a specific purpose in mentioning herein that one should follow the Divagrayas, the most prominent Brahmanas like Parashara and Manu. These great sages have already given us the instructions on how to live according to the principles of Varnashrama Dharma. Similarly, Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami have given us rules and regulations for becoming pure devotees of the Lord. It is essential, therefore, to follow the instructions of the Acharyas in the Parampara system who have received the knowledge as passed down from spiritual master to disciples. In this way, although living in our material condition of life, we can get out of the entanglement of material contamination without leaving our positions. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advises, therefore, that one does not have to change his position. One simply has to hear from the perfect sources. This is called parampara, and follow the principles for practical applications in life. Thus, one can attain the highest perfection of life, liberation, and go back home, back to Godhead. In other words, the change required is a change in consciousness, not in the body. Unfortunately, in this fallen age, people are concerned with the body, not with the soul. They have invented so many isms pertaining to the body only, not to the soul. In the modern age of democracy, there are so many government representatives voting for legislation. Every day they bring out a new law. But because these laws are only mental concoctions manufactured by inexperienced, conditioned souls, they cannot give relief to human society. Formerly, although the kings were autocrats, they strictly followed the principles laid down by great sages and saintly persons. There were no mistakes in ruling over the country, and everything went perfectly. The citizens were completely pious. The king levied taxes legitimately, and therefore the situation was very happy. At the present moment, the so called executive heads are more or less selected from materially ambitious persons who simply look after their own personal interest. They have no knowledge of the Shastras. In other words, the executive heads are fools and rascals in the strict sense of the terms, and the people in general are Sudras. This combination of fools and rascals and Sudras cannot bring about peace and prosperity in this world. Therefore, we find periodic upheavals in society in the forms of battles, communal riots, and fractal quarrels. Under these circumstances, not only are the leaders unable to lead the people toward liberation, but they cannot even give them peace of mind. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that everyone who lives on concocted ideas without reference to the Shastras never becomes successful and does not attain happiness or liberation after death. Hare Krishna.
So, important statement was that change is required to consciousness and not to the body. So the points described in verse number 9 and here in 15 about devotional service is very simple, is that discharging one's occupational duty as a means of rendering devotional service should be the ultimate goal. This is karma yoga as described in Bhagavad Gita, that we should act only for the satisfaction of the Lord, otherwise we'll be entangled. The purpose of material occupation should not be material gain, rather offer the results of occupational activities to the Lord. Devotional service is simple. Regardless of one's position, one should simply take up the 9 processes described in Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.23 of hearing, chanting, remembering, worshipping, and offering everything to the Lord. And here Prabhupada explains that in current times, the Varnashram Dharma is topsy-turvy. Therefore, it is very difficult to follow these principles. The solution is therefore develop Krishna consciousness. That by following the instructions of Acharya in bona fide parampara, disciplic succession, one who has received the knowledge as passed down by the spiritual master to the disciple, then you will be successful. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also said that one does not have to change his position. One simply has to hear from the perfect source coming down in parampara and follow the principles of practical application. Then you will attain the highest perfection of life, of liberation, and going back home, back to Godhead. Questions, comments, realizations? So Lord now asked Prithu Maharaj to ask for a benediction. And Lord describes that he is pleased by elevated character and behavior. Someone doing great sacrifices, doing austerities, these do not satisfy the Lord. It is the elevated character and behavior that satisfies the Lord. Shivangi, 16, translation.
Hey Krishna, text 16, translation. My dear King, I am very captivated by your elevated qualities and excellent behavior, and thus I am very favorably inclined toward you. You may therefore ask from me any benediction you like. One who does not possess elevated qualities and behavior cannot possibly achieve my favor simply by performance of sacrifices, severe austerities, or mystic yoga. But I am always equipoised in the heart of one who is also equipoised in all circumstances. Hey Krishna.
So Lord clearly said that the Lord is pleased by elevated character and behavior. He's openly saying that performing great sacrifices, undergoing austerities, they cannot satisfy me. Anyone who develops unalloyed devotional service develops all the good qualities and satisfies the Lord. So the benediction Prithu Maharaj will ask from the Lord is that please give me million years so that I can hear your glories from the heart of your pure devotees. 2 years are not enough. I need million years to hear the glories. Questions, comments, realizations?
Previously, you mentioned that Jnana Mishra Bhakti, they can eventually go to Bhakti. But is it not generally, it is very difficult from, like, from our contemporary example, generally those in Gyani, like, they don't generally come for devotional part.
Yeah, so the term is Bhakti Mishra Gyan. That is where Jnana is more and Bhakti is less. So are you referring to which part? The
Previous, just like previous words, you mentioned that, sorry, Jnana Mishra Bhakti,
Bhakti
sorry,
Mishra,
Bhakti
Bhakti,
Mishra,
yeah,
Bhakti Mishra
where
Gyan, they
Jnana is
will
more.
eventually, yeah, they will eventually come to devotional,
Yeah.
like, they will come to Bhakti.
Yeah, you are correct. Yeah, you are correct that it is difficult and therefore it is not the recommended path. So simultaneously we also discuss, so where we discuss this point that one who understands the knowledge of the soul, the super soul, the body, and the relationship with all of this. Yes, he has this knowledge. He will start with Bhakti Mishra Gyan, where Gyan component is more, but ultimately he will come to Bhakti, which is also described in Bhagavad Gita 7.19, that Bhavanam Janme Ante, that after many, many lifetimes, the Gyani will come to Bhakti, that Vasudeva is Sarvamiti, that Vasudeva is everything. Simultaneously, I also described that for a devotee, even without trying what the Gyani is trying to get out of this material entanglement, the devotee anyway gets this result of not being entangled in the material world simply by following or doing devotional service. Plus, of course, I also explained that comparatively, devotional service is easier as compared to Gyan path. It's a path, it's a valid path that somebody following Gyan yoga to Bhakti yoga, it's a valid path, just difficult. Therefore, the bottom line goal, Krishna goes on to keep saying that ultimate goal is to devotional service. It's easier. So we discussed this in verse number 9 and 15 that devotional service is simple, that whatever be your occupational duty, just take up the 7.5.23.9 processes of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, and you will attain perfection. Abhishek Prabhu.
Thank you.
All right, spiritual endeavor questions. Lot of questions for you today. Well, number 1, explain the process of Karma Yoga. Comes from verse number 9. Second is an analogy from 4.20.12. So businessman riding a car supervises and advises the driver, knows the gasoline, knows about the car. Still, he is separate from the car and is concerned with his business. Even while riding the car, he thinks of his business. He has no connection with the car, although sitting in the car. So as the businessman is always absorbed in the thoughts of business, similarly, living entity can be absorbed in thoughts of rendering loving service to the Lord. So it's a long analogy. You can take the analogy from 4.20.12. Third question. What is king's real duty? Comes from verse number 14. Number 4. Describe how devotional service is very simple. Comes from verses 9 and 15. Number 5. How is the Lord pleased? Comes from verse 16. And for next class, read rest of chapter 20 if you have not already read, or can even read again, including the verses that we have covered today. Any questions, comments, realizations?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, can I quickly ask one question?
Mhm.
So this is from the previous, before we did the summary presentations, Prabhu. You had asked a question, difference between, to find out what is a 3-dandi sannyasi and 8-dandi sannyasi.
Very good, yeah.
So I did look at the Srimad Bhagavatam purport and get, so I just wanted to understand, Prabhu, what does it mean 3-dandi sannyasi accepts 3 rods representing vow to engage the service of the Lord with body, mind and spirit. Body, mind and, is it spirit, Prabhu?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so what is this 3 accepts 3 rods? I mean, this is something just told.
So,
is it?
yeah, so you will see the ISKCON devotees, those who are sannyasis, they will carry 3 rods. They are signifying that they are committed fully to engage themselves in devotional service using their body, mind, and their whole self in devotional service. Versus the Ek-dandi sannyasi, he is more focused on wanting to merge with the Supreme. So what Shalini looked up is from Canto 3, Chapter 6, verse number 36, where this 3-dandi and Ek-dandi is described. So the Ek-dandi is more focused on wanting to merge. He's not focused on devotional service. Shalini and everybody?
So Prabhu, this when you say sannyasi, this is the ones, the saffron robes Vaishnava sannyasis, Prabhu?
So sannyasi, yes, they all have saffron, but not all are Vaishnavas. So Vaishnava is one who is engaging in devotional service. He is the 3-dandi Vaishnava sannyasi. So if you go back to the verse 36 purport, it says 3-dandi sannyasi of a Vaishnava school. Versus Ek-dandi sannyasi, yes, he is also sannyasi, he is also in a saffron dress, but he is not called Vaishnava because his focus is more on wanting to merge with the Supreme.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
All right. My request and recommendation for you all devotees in this batch 1 and 2 is that you all are ready for initiation. You should immediately start the process by taking up a spiritual mentor, because it takes a while. So start the clock clicking, because it takes time to first get a spiritual mentor, then to know the mentor, then to find a spiritual master, then to take shelter, and then comes initiation. So it's a little long process. I request and recommend that all of you immediately start your clock ticking by taking a spiritual mentor. If you need help, you can connect with me and I can connect you to a mentor. So Vaishnavis will be with a Vaishnavi mentor and Vaishnavs will be with the Vaishnav mentors. Those who are Grahasthas, both husband and wife, trying to get initiation, there are Grahastha mentors, but there are little few. You can just take Vaishnavi and Vaishnav mentors respectively. Questions, comments, realizations? All right, we are just about past 12 noon Toronto time. Stop here. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.